This is Beyond the Resume, the podcast that brings you the stories, advice, and insights behind some of the most successful people in real estate. Beyond the Resume is brought to you by Jackson Lucas Executive Search, the industry leader in human capital solutions. Here is Chris Papa and Lisa Flicker.
Sheri Thompson, welcome to the podcast. Nice to have you. How are you?
Great today. Thank you, Chris. Really happy to be here.
I'm sorry I missed you at ULI in Denver. You're still there, correct?
It has been a whirlwind of a week.
Denver is a great city. I've never really spent time there, and it's pretty easy to get around. We had I don't know if you're on like a council or anything, but we had the mayor speak at our council. Man, I don't know if you know him or ever spoke to him, but they're doing some pretty cool things in Denver.
Yeah, so I don't know him personally. He is connected with Willie. We had the governor speak at ours, so I think they were all making their rounds. I'm on one of the multifamily councils.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm on the Affordable Workforce Council, so.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a great one. And then the next meeting's in San Francisco, so it'll be very close to me.
That'll be nice.
Excited about. Well, cool. So you are the Executive Vice President, Head of Affordable Housing at Walker and Dunlop. That is a big title. I'm sure it's
For a little person.
For a little person. I'm sure it's a very big role. I mean, Walker and Dunlop is huge. I mean, at least for me in my world. Yeah. Could you just describe kind of like Walker and Dunlop and your role there? And yeah, then we can kind of get into like the background.
Yeah. I mean, Walker and Dunlop is, as you know, and hopefully most of your listeners know, we are a financial services firm. We're publicly traded. We do a myriad of things. About 75% of what we do is multifamily, and the remaining is the other asset classes within commercial real estate. We have debt, we have investment sales, we have capital advisory and equity formation. We now have data centers. We have WDIP, which is our funds, investment management funds. We have an appraisal firm. We have Zelman as a research firm. And we are now international with a team in London that does capital markets. So capital markets is the other area as well. And my team spans across a bunch of those different things. So we are the specialty in big A and little a affordable housing, and we hit a lot of the buckets that the firm does on a larger scale on the non-affordable space. And I'm sorry, I forgot, Allie would be upset with me. We also do small balance lending.
All right, nice. And you're in charge of you're the head of affordable housing. What's that? I guess what's the affordable housing team look like?
Yeah, so our affordable housing team, as I said, I like to call us a horizontal among the verticals of the team. Our philosophy is to be the best advisors to our clients and have the best cohesive services to make it easier and more streamlined for them to get deals done. And as you are acutely aware, affordable housing is not easy to start with. So anything we can do to take friction out of the system. So my team focuses on, as I said, anything that's affordable. I've got a team that is an investment sales team that not only does asset dispositions, but they also do analysis for GPs of capital accounts and the best way to handle their deals that are coming to the end of their compliance period. So we look at resyndications, LP buyouts, and refinances and sales. I've got a debt team that spans all capital sources, so primarily Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. And then I oversee the HUD team that is both affordable and conventional, because HUD is considered the affordable lender. And then some of our teammates also do some capital markets executions in there. There are less capital markets executions really available in the deep affordable space, but there are a decent amount in that preservation space. And then we've got capital advisory, where we're raising JV equity and LP equity for non-LIHTC. So sorry, I'm getting technical here. Maybe we should back that one up and repeat that. So if it is not a capital A affordable with regulatory, i.e. it doesn't have low-income housing tax credits, I've got someone that's raising equity for that preservation space, and those deals coming out of compliance periods. And then lastly, I've got Walker and Dunlop affordable equity. Components of that include full service. We are a syndicator of low-income housing tax credits. We syndicate, so we originate the deals, we marry them with the investors, we asset manage them, and we dispose of them. So we are, as an LP, principal owners in, I think it's about 800 units, projects, not units, like 80,000 units.
Uh-huh.
And then we also have, we code GP with some developers strictly in LIHTC to build affordable housing. And we do that because we think that's part of the mission driven of creating better outcomes for tenants and helping to put a dent in the housing crisis that we have today.
Maybe I should have asked you what you don't do. I could have named you for you. Wow, that's a lot. You cover the whole.
It is a lot. I was on an internal podcast and they asked me yesterday, like, how do you synthesize all of that? And it's a lot of, we've owned WDAE, which was really the impetus to create this. And then we added the investment sales very quickly, and it's getting everybody on the same page. It's been a couple of years. Our team has really come together nicely, and we're trying to develop products and services as well, like bridge products that help facilitate this. So I think what I love about our team is there's so much experience in affordable housing, hundreds of years when you add it all up. And our team has seen just about anything that's out there, somebody on it. Between what our developers are doing, what our asset managers are doing, what our salespeople are doing, what our investors, we see a lot of clients come to us and ask for advice and help just because they want to know, how are we handling things? Have we seen these problems? How would we have creative solutions that we've used or can tweak? And so the innovation is pretty cool because, as you know, in affordable housing, it's kind of tried and true products, and tweaking around the edges of those to try and increase proceeds, to try and help speed up regulatory approvals, to anything you can do to put shovels in the ground quicker and get acquisitions done quicker to keep projects affordable is critical to the what's going on.
Have you found a lot more clients coming your way recently? I mean, I feel like in my business, I've been working at affordable for 15 years or whatever. And all of a sudden it's like everyone's trying to get their foot in affordable somehow. And
yeah, I think what we've seen in the last couple of years, a shift to more institutional coming in. So affordable housing, some of it's very state specific, if you're going to go for your LIHTC credits and tax exempt bonds, it's really understanding how to do that. We've seen a lot of the institutions where they've dedicated people who have gotten up to speed relatively quickly, and we're seeing them enter the space, and more regional, that kind of mom and pop type or individuals they're still there doing their thing, but they're not growing as quickly. And then we've also seen there's a lot of interest in preservation, particularly from investors. So I've spoken with investors for WDIP, which is our investment management team, who say, what do you have in affordable, right? And then we have other clients who are saying, hey, we'd like to be in that space. There is, to some extent, with some of the larger institutionals, a disconnect between the returns they want and the returns we can get in affordable housing.
Great one,
And some of them, the deep fundamental knowledge of kind of how these deals get put together and where your risks are. Because a lot of them end up being regulatory risk more than real estate risk when you're doing, particularly in the bridge space. So we're doing a lot of educating in that front. And we're really encouraged by the amount of inquiries coming in and the interest in it.
Yeah, the friction, I hear a lot from like the developers who like get a lot of this institutional capital, and there seems to be a friction because the expectations of like what the capital is expecting, that we do 5 deals a year. Now you can do 20 deals a year type of thing. And it's like, it's a different animal on affordable generally. Right. And it's like, and so I get from the developer, like, yeah, their expectations are so out of whack to what we can actually do in this world. Is that something you kind of help explain?
Do you mean in terms of like the institutional investor doesn't understand how you have to apply for and get awards of credits, and how you have to marry that with the investor and the investor base that's there?
Right. Is that... They just expect you can throw money at it, and it's kind of like all of a sudden you can get more deals done.
I think what we're seeing more is our developers right now have more deals and finding equity investors, and enough that universe has shrunk some. Okay. And so they're having trouble they'll get the LIHTC award, but there's only so much equity out there. And so it's kind of trying to fit the square peg in the round hole. And it's like, I call it like Tetris, putting these funds together. So our investment management team is or investor relations team, excuse me, on our LIHTC side is really busy trying to match those. We just closed a $240 million fund in April. So it was the largest fund that the Walker Dunlop investment affordable equity, which used to be called Alliant, has ever done. I think that's a good indication of there are people still out there, but we're definitely the investors are continuing to shift and change what they want, and pretty quickly because of the regulatory environment and the political winds, and that's moving daily. And so it's a challenge to find the right pieces to fit together and the right investors. And that's where we're hearing our developers are having problems too, is the equity side.
Well, let's talk about Sheri. Young Sheri, dreaming one day to be the EVP and head of affordable housing at Walker Dunlop. Like, let's talk about you. Where did you grow up? Kind of what's your background? How did you get into this crazy world that we're...
Yeah, so I grew up in Montgomery County, Maryland.
Okay.
My father was the CFO of Federal Realty.
Wow.
Yeah, way back when. So I started in high school working there. I worked in a couple different areas. I worked in their law department and I worked in their marketing, which was super fun. They were opening shopping centers and I got to go to a ton of parties. And so fast forward, I went to most of my family are CPAs or teachers. I'm the youngest of 5. So I was kind of this, what are you going to be? And then I went to college and I went to Penn State and they actually had a real estate program.
Really?
So, which is for how old I am, and I won't say how old, that's kind of, I know it's kind of there now, but so I went into real estate. I got a degree in real estate and business law and decided to kind of go into that. I came out of undergraduate, the recession before the GFC, and there were really not a lot of jobs to be had. So I thought I was going to be a developer, and that really wasn't the way to go. So I took a job with a company that's defunct now, they did office leasing called Beretta and Associates. You might remember them in DC. Yeah, do you remember them? And for Beretta. And so I was one of the research analysts, and this is before you could ask ChatGPT to do anything for you.
Yeah.
And so that was my entree into and I knew I didn't want to do office leasing. That was not something that interested me. So from there, I kind of have pivoted a few times. I actually was at Walker & Dunlop pretty early in my career in underwriting, left for many, many years, and then came back to run our FHA team and then transitioned to this larger role of running the affordable platform.
And so, like, did you, I guess, when you got out of school and you got into the research, I guess kind of what, did you have any idea, like, besides you wanted to be a developer, like kind of what the real estate world landscape looked like, the different job opportunities out there, and kind of how did you navigate towards this direction?
Yeah, no would be the answer. I knew from my father, like, what a REIT did and the different jobs within the REIT. At one point, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. I mean, like,
Me too.
If you would, and I'll take this from my husband because he uses it about his career, but if you were to ask me the title of my book, it would be Stumbling Towards This, or this is Stumbling Towards Executive, Stumbling Towards, because it kind of was, for the most part, luck and happenstance. I shifted from my first job to my second job to my third job. And my third job is really, it was called Bank One Capital. It became Red Capital. It was where I stayed for a very long time. Was a lending. I was focused on credit and underwriting for a long time in my career. That's where I learned affordable housing. We were really good at affordable and seniors. So I did a lot of both. And that was really where I was really fortunate that our chairman brought me into a lot of things other than underwriting. So I was managing a lot of client relationships. I was doing a lot of structuring of deals. And that's really where I started to hone in on, okay, this is what I want to do. Fast forward, I was given the opportunity to leave there. And I didn't I didn't want to go to another firm to be a chief underwriter or a chief credit officer. I wanted to push myself. And so I was given the opportunity to be a COO of an agency shop.
Wow.
I think hindsight, I did it at the time. One of the things they really focused on is their credit. And I focused on their credit and where their credit was and what we needed to do to improve it. And so I felt comfortable. I think looking back, if that hadn't been there, I don't know if I would have taken it because it was really outside my core competency. And so it was the first time I had not just been in a role and kept advancing and learning and advancing, but kind of stepped off a cliff to say, I'm going to go do something else. And I know you've heard this a million times, but women typically don't do that, right? We feel like we need to be 120% qualified versus men who say 70%. And I didn't give it enough thought or a lot of thought. It was fortuitous. Again, it's that stumbling towards, I got there. We kind of did what we needed to do, kind of reorganize some things. And then it was like, okay, here's the operations, right? That's what we hired you to be a COO. And I went, I don't know how to be a COO, right? It was the probably hardest, but most best thing I ever did. And it really taught me like it's okay to take calculated risks. And that's what led me to the next risk that led me to this risk. And each time you take that risk, it gets a little easier because you kind of know what you're going into and you're thinking about it a little more clearly, at least for me. But I have this sign on my desk that says life begins at the end of your comfort zone that I bought when I started as that job, because it's just to remind me and to remind others that I work with of like, it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to take risks that in your career. Sometimes it's okay to take a step backwards, just to take a step.
I think we just found the headline for this podcast episode. I like that. Did you when you were coming out of school and working your way through all these iterations, you're like, what skill sets did you have to pick up and you didn't know? Like, and that you find like if you're talking to a young person right now who's listening to this podcast, what would you tell them as far as like, make sure you learn how to do this?
Yeah, that's a good, and I think that's changed for now from when I came out. I had the fundamentals of real estate, although arguably it was like a lot of finance and econ with an appraisal course thrown in there, right? So it wasn't like a ton of real estate. It's not like the kids coming out today where they have these modeling classes and are really diving into a lot of stuff. So I think for me, the journey was a little bit different. For me, I think one of the hardest was learning how to manage people. I became a manager because I was good at my job and they just gave me someone. And the first person I managed, when I think back, was a train wreck, right? So it's learning how to navigate that, have challenging conversations, set expectations, and build a team. But I think coming right out of school, that's a good question. I would think today it's still about relationships. It's learning how to find the right relationships. It's navigating internally kind of what you're doing, what you want to be doing, making sure that your voice is being heard, but not overheard on your desires and where you want to be, and finding the right people to connect with that will be your supporters. Mentorship is a lot different than sponsorship. And so there's a lot of, I get asked a lot, should I have a formal mentor? And my answer is it depends. It depends on what you want and what you need. My experiences generally is informal or things that organically happen are often better than the very formal forced. But where really it moves the needle is a sponsor. And I think that comes more middle career than beginning of career usually.
Yeah. I've found the same thing, and I didn't know how to manage. Yeah, they think it's often like, oh, you're great at this job that you're doing, and then you should now manage people doing that. And it's like, oftentimes the best managers are people that aren't necessarily like the best. Like, was it Ted Williams was the best hitter of all time, right? Baseball, awful peaceful person, couldn't understand how people couldn't dedicate their entire lives to hitting, and why they couldn't intuitively pick up what he did. You know what I mean? Learning how to mentor people for me or train people. I was good at sales and business development, and it just came naturally to me, almost, and I was really good at it. And then all of a sudden I had to like oversee people. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think most of us, especially in real estate, like there isn't this track. It's not like you go into a consulting firm and you do these jobs and then you become a manager and you get training for it. Or my husband was in the Army, like he got incredible leadership training, but we don't do that. It's more, and some of my leadership kind of philosophies and structure has been because I've had the benefit of going with him to some of these leadership trainings and hearing incredible speakers and incredible people and their journeys. But it's really mostly when you look in real estate, it's about you're good at your job so you can manage people. And I think a lot for the 10 years after the GFC, a lot was masked by how the business, the low interest rate environment, there was so much business that you didn't have to manage people and you didn't have to have operational excellence. So when people ask me today, like, where should I focus? My first is credit, because I truly believe some amount of experience in the credit environment is important, regardless if you want to be a producer or you want to be, stay in credit your whole life or do something different, but understanding how to address issues and create structured arguments that defend from data versus just because I need it will serve you well no matter what you do. And if you end up going into the sales side of the business, you can take those skill sets and use them to help your clients with the credit people. And then the other I'm saying today, and this might be for a short period, is operational, but there aren't as many operational, like, excellent people, and that we're seeing in all aspects of real estate, whether it be, in developing, whether it be in owner operator side, whether it be in the lender side, you name it, having really strong operations people that can drive that forward is making the difference between good and excellent right now.
I agree. Do you guys does Walker have do they train folks? Like if somebody joined Walker and wanted to get involved with affordable housing, is there training? Is there how do you you have a formal process? I think
So we're going to do a combination of on the ground training. Analysts are typically the first year are working under someone. They're going to get direct kind of one-to-one with whoever's their manager or their team. And then my team actually has done an amazing job of, and I think we've talked about this, they've got training videos, they've got training kind of online you can hop on, everything from how to navigate one of our systems to this is how affordable tax credit deal is put together, or this is what a tax credit is, or this is how a bond deal works. So we have a whole series of learning. We have a learning and development team at Walker Dunlop that helps that. My team, I think, has gone above and beyond because they wanted to. They do these lunch and learns. We have an affordable housing every 2 weeks that's open to anyone that wants to come on, and each team talks about what they're working on, and some of that's education. But the learning and development team at Walker also has very good training manuals, training tools, and moving to online type of training.
Great.
I think though, just most of it other than one-on-one, you have to seek it out, right? So I don't know that I know any companies in our space that have a formal, unless you're going to a bank, a formal training program. So it's really up to the individual, and they come in to seek that out and spend the time. I mean, that's above and beyond your work hours, right? Listening to these or inquiring or seeking out the right people to teach you this stuff.
Right. Do you guys have internships too?
We do.
Yeah.
So we have internships across the entire company. I was just reviewing that. I think we have 5 or 6 in our team this year. I mean, the challenge from an intern perspective is to make sure that they are challenged and they're riding along, I would say, on a lot of stuff so they can absorb it, but that you're also giving them kind of discrete tasks to do so that they have, some work.
I love interns. We started an internship program, and it's like they get to learn the culture, the best people.
We typically, we're pretty serious and very strategic about our interns in terms of how many we take, because at the end of the summer, we're, and through the fall, we're offering permanent jobs for the following year to those interns. And so it's also to your point, it's a great way for them to learn who we are as a company, what our ethos and culture is, and we can learn that about you and make sure it's a good fit.
Exactly. Yeah. We always hire at least one that comes through, depending on the need. All right. Well, you look very comfortable there in Denver in your office. It's about to get really uncomfortable because you just entered the hot seat.
Oh! Wait.
You ready?
Go.
All right. This is an easy one. We'll warm you up. Do you have a book and or podcast recommendation? You can't say Willy Walker's podcast.
I won't say Willy Walker. So I'm looking it up because it's called... I have 2 I really like. One I've listened to a lot, which is How I Built This. I love that podcast. Super fun. And I've just started listening to Acquired. So I've been listening to the Starbucks. It's long. It's like 4 hours, but it's a super cool one that one of my friends, and I'll probably listen to more of the
Choir?
acquired.
Oh, I never heard that one before.
It's like every company has a story. So this is the one I've been listening to is on Howard Schultz and Starbucks. And it's great leadership lessons as well as just really interesting. And then obviously how I built this is just really fun about different companies.
Yeah, that's fun. The Zumba one was great. I don't know.
I haven't listened to that one. I think my favorite is Jenny's Ice Cream because my old company was in Columbus and I remember them when they were literally in the North Market, like this tiny little company. So,
Oh, I haven't heard that one, but Zumba, yeah, the Zumba one is.
and then in terms of books, I read a lot. I read for work because I have to. I read fiction for pleasure. So I don't know that I could pick one, but if you make me, I will.
I won't make you.
Okay.
This is easy. I'm not gonna make anybody.
Although I would put in a plug for one you would never expect, which is Lonesome Dove. The best stories ever, old book.
A TV show too?
It became a mini series. I'm not a Western person, and my husband said, just read this. And then I gave it to a friend of mine who he said, I'm not a reader. And 3 months later, he gives me a brand new copy. I said, why'd you buy me a new copy? And he said, because I carried that thing around. It was so dog-eared, I couldn't give it back to you. And it's the best book I've ever read. So,
Really?
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna write that one down too. Question number 2. What has been your most memorable deal that you've been part of?
I would probably say a transaction in Washington, D.C. that started when I was pregnant with my daughter and ended when she was 3 months old. So it was a 3-property portfolio where we were coming in and putting some new regulations on it. We split it. One went with one owner, the other 2 went with the other, and we did a tax-exempt bond deal. And it was very interesting. There were TOPA issues. There were issues on, it was a HUD loan, and we were putting a Fannie Mae forward on it. And it took us 3 years, but somehow someone convinced HUD to defease it, which is crazy. Never seen that before. And so it's a cool deal. It's still there. It's an older deal that's been renovated. And then it's been sold a couple more times since then. But that would probably be because it was the longest deal and just one of the craziest, most complicated deals.
How old's your daughter now?
25.
That's awesome. Now I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this podcast wanting to work for you, someone like you. What do you look for in someone that you're hiring? And how do you vet that out? That's the hardest part. Like, we all know what we kind of like, but we kind of like, how do we find that out?
Look for people who are inquisitive, but show up with enough knowledge of what we do and what I do, right? To ask the good questions, and someone who the passion of they really want to do this comes through. So I've had debates with colleagues on, do you hire someone with the most pedigree or do you hire someone with the most desire? And I will tell you, we have someone on our staff who at my old company, we were considering hiring. We did not. He worked for an elevator company and he did not go to one of the Ivy schools. He had such a passion. He sought me out. He had conversations with me. We subsequently were able to get him a job with a different company. And then a couple of years ago, he was ready to move and came back and he works for us now. But like, that's someone who, could have been so easily overlooked, but it was his desire and his drive where he sought us out. He made it very clear he understood and knew what he wanted to do. A lot of women that come to me kind of mid-career and say, I want to make a change. And I say, well, what do you want to do? And they're like, I don't know. I said, well, then don't go looking. Because if you can't articulate your business proposition to a company or why you should be hired or why you really have a passion, I'm not sure that anything else. For me, it falls flat after that.
You got to do a little research, explore. That's one of the reasons I do this podcast. People kind of explore different careers that are out there.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to know exactly, like, I want to go into affordable housing and I want to be a, equity originator, but you got to know, like, hey, I want to be in real estate and there has to be some kind of path there or connection or some kind of passion that comes through. And I can't really tell you like exactly what it is, but you know it when you see it.
Right. Now, you mentioned mentors, sponsors. Which mentors have had the most impact upon you in your career?
So I would probably say, if you don't mind me tweaking that question a little, it's been a sponsor for me. Am I allowed to name names?
We encourage it.
Yeah. So Jim Klingbill, early on in my career, he was a client of Red. He had a family business. He sold a multifamily. He sold a lot of that to UDR and became the chairman of UDR. He was also the chairman of ULI's charitable giving arm, and just an incredibly well-connected, incredibly smart. I got the pleasure of spending time with him this week, which was amazing because he is aging. But he was really one of those guys that was in my corner and I didn't know it, right? He asked me to join ULI. I was young, really young. Like, I stepped into the multifamily councils and there were 3 of them and there were like 6 women total, and nobody knew who I was. And I was this young lender, and they were all titans, and they were looking at me like, why is she here? But the fact that he thought it was important I was there, they thought maybe I should get to know her. And it changed the trajectory of my career for sure.
Wow. That's a great story. I could tell how much you care about that because you hear the emotion in your voice.
I owe a lot to him, and he's just a wonderful person.
It's nice to hear that story. Well, with that, Sheri Thompson, thank you for coming on the podcast. It was a great story, and I look forward to hearing the rest of it and following your career. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Those were easy hot seat questions. I'll do that anytime.
No, I know. We kind of scare you. Try to scare you.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Resume, a Jackson Lucas podcast where we take a deep dive into the career journeys of some of the top minds in real estate and equip you with the knowledge to move forward in your path towards the success you've envisioned. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Beyond the Resume. We're grateful for your support. All episodes of Beyond the Resume are brought to you by Jackson Lucas, building inclusive and diverse businesses through talent acquisition. Visit us at jacksonlucas.com.